if you are listening, I want to thank you for being part of the journey. Life over the last 12 months has taken many, many twists and turns, and through it all, you've given us grace to continue to explore how we bring these stories to life. We will continue to explore until we do find the right thing. Cheers to never settling and a little New York City jazz. Welcome to At the Table. For episode number 1, we have guest Sam Snowden, a New York City filmmaker that, in my humble opinion, has risen to the top of the filmmaking game through his authentic storytelling. On the episode, we dive into building out loud, working with brands like Minted New York and Montes, and the art of the creative process. Hope you enjoy. Watching your journey has been inspiring for me, but I know also thousands of people. Would love to hear from you how you ended up in New York. Growing up, I know you had hoop dreams, but have found a way with your hands and a camera. Walk us up to New York City and getting here.
Yeah, the spark notes are, I always wanted to play basketball in college. I'm about 5'9". You can't see that I'm sitting right here, but
5'10",
we'll say 5'10". But as a result of wanting my mom to film my games, she filmed every single game from freshman year to senior year, and I wasn't playing varsity the whole time. So she filmed freshman, JV,
saint, man.
And I would get home and I would edit the clips right away. Like every game, I was like, I just want to see the clips, you know. And a lot of it's probably based off of like wanting to see yourself and ego.
Yeah.
But that's how I really learned how to edit. I was always making videos with my friends as kids, but you know, that's what I remember most is making basketball videos. And that passion sort of developed. I watched this series called 10,000 Hours on YouTube. It was a documentary series with these guys in San Francisco who were getting trained, you know, 24/7. And this guy was following around training him, but also telling their story. And I remember watching that video in high school being like, oh, this is something that I love and something that I relate to. I'm almost wondering if the storytelling aspect of it is more inspiring than the basketball, you know? And I think that I remember being on my iTouch and typing in on my notes, like, I'm going to run 20 sand hills tomorrow. And like, it really affected me, you know, like watching that story really affected me. And looking back now, it makes a lot of sense. That was when I really decided I wanted to make documentaries when I was probably 14, 15, and went to college, didn't go to film school, because I didn't have the portfolio to do it. Made videos all throughout high school, made videos all throughout college, but I wasn't superb. I wasn't really ever a standout in any class or, you know, art. And I think the biggest thing to learn from this whole lead up to New York is that it's taken me a really, really long time to build that confidence. People learn things really fast now, but it took me 8 years to actually have confidence to freelance. Wow. And so I think it's easy to see maybe now the work I do in New York, but there was a huge lead up that really made me who I am today.
Mm-hmm. So you graduate college, you studied, remind me.
I studied Parks and Rec in college.
Parks and Rec.
And for anyone that doesn't know what that is,
yeah, I was like, what
I'm still trying to figure out what it is. It's very much it was a major that you do a lot of different things in the experience industry. And it was my ticket to learn video on the side. I actually worked for the department to make videos for them.
Wow.
$17 an hour.
There we go, baby.
And, you know, I look back on college and I don't think that going to film school would have helped me at all, just based off the way that I operate now. And I'm so grateful for the friends that I had that pushed me just to make YouTube videos, or even when I started to create more, the vlogs and all that stuff. That's really what I was using as my, you know, storytelling skill set. And they weren't that funny or they weren't that good, but it makes sense now. And I'm basically doing the same thing.
For sure.
And throughout college, I knew that I wanted to do something video after, but I didn't know what that looked like. So I would be on LinkedIn and I would be like, oh, like, I'm not qualified. I don't have 5 years of experience. And I did a couple internships, but they were all free. Mm-hmm. And I was really confused. All my friends were getting jobs, but I didn't know how to freelance. And I didn't know how to freelance in like a major city. I lived in San Luis Obispo, which is a small college town. And so the whole goal was to move to LA and figure everything out there just based off the film industry. And COVID hit and I had to reevaluate basically everything. I ended up working on a startup media company in my college town with this guy named Connor. And it was called The Idea Factory. And I rarely have talked about it much, but mainly because it didn't work. And people don't want to talk about things that didn't work, but I love Connor, and I'm also really glad it didn't work because it's the reason that I moved to New York, and it gave me a real look into what the real world is. I barely live in the real world now. I feel like I just make little videos and I post them and send invoices, but I truly am grateful that it didn't work. Because it gave me thick skin, and I definitely was someone in college who wanted to be successful and like wanted everyone to think that I was crushing it. And I can say that now. I couldn't have said that a couple of years ago because I was pretty insecure about that, but I definitely wanted people to think that I could do this. And I really didn't do it for the first 2 years. It was like, here's this thing I'm doing and it's sort of working and we're good. We're working on it. Got 400 subscribers, like it's not all black and white. And I'm moved home with my parents. And then that's when I decided that let's just try New York for a year and see if I can actually freelance.
Yeah. I think it's very obvious that you fell in love with the craft. I was watching some of your older videos, and even you talking to the 200 subscribers, you're like, I don't care if anybody sees this. It's a matter of putting your craft out there because you love to do it and you built that for yourself. And now it's paid dividends because you put in that work for 8 years leading up to, I guess, New York. So you moved to the city, and where was your head at that point in time? Like, you started working with a couple influencers, picking up gigs on the side. How was your mind reacting to living in the city?
Yeah, the goal once I hit the ground running here was, and I want to preface this by saying I'm lucky enough that I had an older brother who, helped me move and do all this stuff and told me where to live and what to do. And he did the same thing where he moved without a job and figured it out. So he gave me the confidence to do it. And then once I was here, it was all reach out to anyone that I felt my work prior to this, even if my portfolio wasn't that big, would resonate with. And I think that's a big thing is a lot of creatives now will reach out and they'll send their work and expect maybe a gig or in return. But I picked people that I had done research on. I'd watched their stuff. I'd really understood maybe even how their business works. Like, could they even afford to have a second shooter? Could they even afford to have a videographer come on? And it was, instead of reaching out to 40 people, I reached out to like 5 or 10. And luckily enough, I had a couple coffee dates lined up, and I was like, I'll work for free. Like, there's no ego in this right now. And Gabe DeSanti, Brett Conti, a couple like people in the YouTube space really helped me. And I bounced around faster than I was imagining, but I also moved at a time where you would just walk down the street and people say, oh, you have a camera? Do you make a video? It wasn't about photography. Everyone wanted a video. And I think that was the shift in 2021. Everyone decided they wanted video content. And so I just said yes to pretty much everything. It led me around Europe, followed a startup for a while. I really was trying to just keep my head on straight and figure out what I'm doing. But it was a bit of an ego death because you just end up doing anything for anyone at any time. And I hadn't done that in my life. It was always about me and what my vision was because I wasn't making any money. And I think that that's where I learned a little bit of the business side, not hard numbers financially, but service. Like when you provide a service for someone, they don't care about the vlogs you made in college. They care about how you can execute right now. And I say all this because it was really huge for me. The forced growth is crazy. When you get put in situations that you're not comfortable in, you actually really, really figure out what kind of creative you are. For me specifically, I do my worst when I have downtime. and I'm like, what? But when I get hit with a story, or I meet someone, or I'm in a random place and something comes to me, I know I have to act on it. And when you act on something in New York, it pays dividends.
Absolutely. Jumping all in.
But that sort of led me to a space where I did that for about 4 or 5 months. I got by, found an apartment, was doing the whole New York scene and trying to find my footing as a creative. But I knew that I couldn't do the whole run around with your head cut off for forever. And an opportunity came up actually with the people that I was, the startup that I was working with, one of my friends that was also working there gave me a lead to like an Instagram story. And it was, Brendan was looking for a, assistant. And I was like, I don't even know if my skill set's worth being an assistant, but he seemed like a cool guy and I have video skills. Emailed him, got coffee with him the next day. And then by the next week, he also was like, oh, my wife would like to work with you too. And I was like, great. I didn't even know that would be an opportunity too. And I had 2 retainers, which if you're not like familiar with freelancing, getting a retainer is just like a huge deal because I was working project to project for everyone. And so I was like, damn, I can really like have a base now and maybe like take care of myself and really like actually figure this out for my vision and create a schedule. So that leads me to doing a year's worth of work with them. And that was all through 2022 and some amazing moments. Some moments were some reality check moments. One story that I always remember, and it's very fitting, is I went to a lot of different events with them. And I was always their video guy, and I would take photos or whatever with them. And I never knew anyone at these events. It was always just, oh, this is Sam, our friend or videographer. And I was there to do a job, but a lot of people are there to schmooze and catch up. And when you get put in awkward positions like that, you learn a lot about yourself. And
very quickly,
yeah. I was around people that were older, and I think I had to like hold myself to a higher standard. But I remember going to one event with them for this pretty big watch company, very fancy. It was a Serena Williams launch party, and I was like, this is sick. Like I don't know, I just get excited about that type of stuff. I'm like, this is what New York's all about. Yeah. You on a random Tuesday, you go to some event and shoot at, and it's a experience you tell your kids about. And I remember being there, shooting some photos, just walking around the party, like, who do I talk to? I was probably 10.
Serena.
Yeah.
I gotta talk to her.
I was like, I'll take a film photo of Serena, but that's like 15 seconds. And then maybe I'll go grab a drink. Yeah. But like, I don't even know who I would have it with.
Were you filming at the event?
And I'm filming with them, but I also want to let them do their thing.
Sure.
They have all these people that they're there with. And a lot of it, being a videographer is just being in the room and understanding when to shoot and when to not. And that event sticks out to me a lot because it gave me an idea of, okay, well, I'm going to go to this event. It's going to be something that I've never experienced before for an hour or two. I'm around all these people that you see on the internet. And then I'm going to go home. And I remember telling my Uber, because they send you with Ubers, and I was like, you could just drop me off here. I went to like Champion Pizza. I got like 2 pieces of pizza and walked home and edited right away. Like I was like in my tiny room, I was like, wow, I just went from the top of the top, like in terms of experiences and like, I guess you could say wealth, but like back to reality. Like you're not there at all, bro. Yeah. And you are not close. And I think that it was cool because it keeps your head on your shoulders and you're like understanding of your reality versus what you're maybe searching for. But
was that a motivating time for you? You saw, what was at the end potentially.
Yeah.
That like kind of cracked the whip a little bit.
Yeah. I felt like, growing up, I always wanted people to like take me serious, and I don't necessarily know what that comes from. But creatively, it's hard for people to take you serious when you're young. When you tell people, oh, I want to make this video, or I got this photo idea, I made this song. Like most of the time it's, all right, that's cool. It's your little project. And I wanted those little projects to become my life and my living. And so I think I've always had a chip on my shoulder, and going to things like that where I'm just young. Truthfully, I was like 23, and you're kind of wide-eyed, and you're trying to figure out what kind of people you want to be around, and also what do you want to be known for. That it's definitely helped me in terms of my work ethic. I think it has allowed me to just focus on the thing that matters, which is the craft, and all the time that you spend to build that worth.
So you're going to these experiences, you're working with Connor and his wife. At this point in time, you're still full-time at the startup?
No, so the breakthrough was I should have said that. I left the startup and started my own freelance business for real, which was Create Studios.
I know there was 2 times where you had gone freelance and then gone back to another company, and then after another month, you go back freelance. Walk me through what changed in your mind and how you thought about it the second time so you were able to do it long term.
Yeah, it's one of those things where once you have it, or I don't know, maybe we'll have to cut that. It was one of those things where all I wanted was security.
Yeah.
And then once you have security, all you want is freedom. And I had it, like you said, moved here and I was trying to figure it out and how to pay taxes and how to send invoices and all that stuff. And then I worked at a company for a month and it was all set up for me. And truthfully, I didn't feel like there was anything to work for. I was like, I think that what they're doing is inspiring, but it's not inspiring enough for me to work that much harder. And that's just me being truthful. I've always been someone it's either all or nothing. And I think that when you're a freelancer, you don't have a ceiling. And I felt a ceiling there. Even if it was in January and I was like, this is kind of nice, I can go to work and just like leave at 5 and sort of check out. But I had to really look at myself and be like, is this it? You're kind of saying something that you're like becoming someone that you, I wouldn't say like look down upon, but you're
not filling that full potential.
Right. And I think that I was around a lot of people that, no shade, were ideas guys, and they wanted to just share their ideas, and they wanted to pitch me on, oh, Sam, what if you do this? You could be a podcast host, you could be this. And I was around a lot of like talk, and I wanted to just work because I didn't know what I was as a creative yet.
Yeah.
And they would always ask me, well, what do you know? Like, what do you want to do? And I'm just like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I just want to make videos until I figure it out. And I think that period of time was really critical for me to be like, love you guys, but in order for me to figure this out, it's solo. It's not with anyone else telling me their vision. And that is how I started my freelance business. That sort of circles back to our whole conversation. Yeah.
Early days New York, I remember you quoted a director that had texted you. He looked at your portfolio and said something along the lines of, you're a great storyteller, but there's something missing. Walk me through that feedback and how you framed that eventually after getting through that initial kind of ego shot.
Yeah. It's when you're in the moment and you're trying to figure out your identity as a creative, anyone that says anything not negative but constructive, it's going to hurt just because you're so fragile. You're like, obviously I'm trying to, but truthfully it was a huge boost for me to actually look at frames and art of filmmaking. I always thought of filmmaking as words and cool music and great slow-mo shots, and I never really understood how visuals could affect the viewer. And I don't think there was a moment where I was like, I'm going to start studying and researching all this stuff. It was just this progressive learning of, I remember that one director was like telling me I should start to learn how to draw because you need to understand framing. You're always worried about cameras in motion. And since I don't have a traditional background at all I was doing was learning on YouTube and learning through just watching other documentaries. But you, as a creative, you start to build a taste after years. And a lot of people don't talk about that. They always talk about how you can do it fast. And here's 5 ways that you can just make the best cinematic film now. And for me personally, it took me 10 years to really understand taste of what I like to do and the films that I like and the colors that I like. And I'm still learning every day. But back to your original question, that really motivated me to learn proper filmmaking, not so run and gun janky, but all right, what if I really thought about this? And like, if Luke's in the corner here and I'm over there, and how does the lighting affect that? Really thinking before shooting, that was a huge thing.
Yeah.
Because I was always just shooting. And I
Putting
think
the prep work in.
Yeah.
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 Did you start drawing at that point in time, or was it more so just like framing before you shoot?
Yeah. I never started drawing, but mainly just because I'm really bad, but I would research frames, and something that I do a lot is I just watch documentaries, and for me, they're like comfort. I love like watching a crime doc. It's like a weird comfort for me.
Like serial killers.
Yeah, like I love like a serial killer Sunday night movie. But that's always been my thing. And dating back to when I was a kid, like I always watched documentaries with my dad. But I really started studying him. And I remember watching, there was like a Kid Cudi documentary. I've watched it 25 times. And that's maybe crazy to some people, but I'm like, I just love the way that the message is conveyed or the shots are framed. And through that craft, I just decided like, this is actually something that I really love. This isn't a hobby anymore. This isn't a passion. This is just literally my life. And I'm cool with justifying the time that I'm spending researching all this stuff, even if people don't think it's research, or you're just watching a movie, or you're just watching content or whatever, or you're just watching YouTube videos. I could justify it now because I was like, this is my job.
Yeah.
And I think that was a big hurdle that I had to jump over. Was as a kid, you have to justify everything because you're going to school, and are you going to get a job, or what are you doing in your room for 10 hours? But now that no one was there to tell me what to do or what not to do, I was like, this is sick. I can really hone in and learn without any outside distraction.
And it's less so probably the content of the documentary and more so like the framing, the shots, and learning self-taught education of, how people are setting that up. Did you have at that point filmmakers that you were inspired by or that you would pull aspirations from?
Yeah, definitely. I think it would be hard for me to not note Casey Neistat, just as someone who I would watch in study hall in high school, and my teacher had this thing where they could view all your monitors, and he'd be like, Sam, like, get off YouTube.
Get off Casey.
Yeah, and looking back now, it makes a lot of sense of the move to New York. He inspired a lot of young creatives through world building of what his experience was like in New York, and I think that that's the power of filmmaking, and I saw that, and that was so attractive to me. So, he inspired a generation of people like myself to learn through YouTube, and it's really common now, and everyone has courses, or they have Patreons, or they have these really cool platforms where they are able to have educational resources. But for me growing up, it was YouTube, and even if he wasn't trying to say something educational, I took it as educational because I looked up to people like him. So that would be my answer for that is, he paved the way for a lot of different creatives, and not just filmmakers, like real go-getters, like let's go out and do something that we've always wanted to do.
Yeah. So it's fall 2021, you jump in full time to create more. I think it's important to go back to 2019 when you founded Create More. I believe it was in a classroom. You passed around or made some stickers that said Create More on them. They sold out like wildfire. But give me the background context, and then we can jump into 2021.
In 2017, I was sitting in a library of my college. I don't even know what it was called. I was sitting in the library, and the irony of me sitting in the library was I was editing a video there when I should have been studying. And I remember finishing the video and just putting Create More at the end. And it said something cheesy like, don't make excuses, create more. But I was talking to myself. And from then on, I put it at the end of every single video. And I still have, probably for 7-8 years now, as just a message to myself. And then it started to become a bit in my friend group of like, create more. People were like, remembered it. And I wasn't great at branding. I just remember that people remembered it. And in 2019, I decided, let's throw it on a sticker. What's the worst thing that could happen? And I made these tiny little stickers. I was sitting in a Parks and Rec class. I made 250 stickers, and they're really, really small. I wish I still had an original one. And I didn't sell them or anything. So when you say sold out, I mean, we could definitely leave that in.
Yeah.
But I gave them away just to friends, and then all of a sudden I had people hitting me up on Instagram in 2019, which is crazy. No one was really on Instagram like that, being like, I need a sticker. And I'm like, really? You want a sticker?
Now they're $100.
Yeah, exactly. And I actually would mail them to people.
Wow.
And I'd write letters to people that resonated with the message. And that was the beginning of me forming a really, really small community. When I say small, I mean like I was sending 2-inch stickers to random people in Sacramento or that I didn't really know, but I kind of knew. And then I was like, let's put it on a t-shirt. And that resonated with people. And it became, in the moment, I didn't realize it was a brand. I just thought it was really fun to do. And it paired with the videos that I was making. But it was the start of me building real confidence to display a message that wasn't just Sam Snowden. It was, if you saw Create More and you didn't know me, maybe you would also resonate with that. And that was my whole goal with it, was how do I create something that could go farther than myself? And that is why I eventually, when I moved here, I was like, what should I name my LLC? Should it be Sam Snowden Films or should it be Create More Studios? And it was a no-brainer.
Yeah, a catalyst for self-expression. I know you've said before is what you hope it comes off as and how it lands with people is you're inspiring other people to find their own craft, which for you is videography, but creating can look different to anyone, right? It can be art, it can be love, it can be friendships. So I find that really cool and inspiring that it's not just about Sam, it's about other people as well.
Thank you.
So it's now become like a lifestyle brand, and it had those threads back in the day, but walk me through the last couple of years. You've been in New York, you're starting to take on new projects. How has the city impacted the way that you see film?
Yeah, I think time is the best thing. And when you're really in the midst of it, you don't think about that. But I've been here for over 3 years now, and every year has looked similar, but also really different. And the through line of everything is that each year I get closer and closer to the actual work that I really want to create. And that takes time. And recently working with Minted and working with Montes and doing things that really feel like me, which is docu-style, storytelling heavy video content, that has been amazing. And I think that it's taken me not a long time, because everyone moves at their own pace, but for me it's felt like a long time because I did it my whole life. And then I went through this phase where I was making brand deals and I was making content that was serviceable. It wasn't my favorite thing to do. And I'm not saying that you have to do your favorite thing as a creative for a job, but for myself, that was my goal. I was like, if we're going to try, let's go all the way with this, And I wanted to bring this up randomly because it's topical, but I loved what Timothy Chalamet said, like as a word thing, and I resonate with that, and it's just topical. It came to mind when I was thinking about that. I'm very comfortable with saying what I want to do now and the goals and aspirations I have, but growing up, it's really hard to tell people that. You don't want to feel like people don't take you seriously, or you're coming off as cocky or arrogant. But the work is paramount. And I feel like as a 26-year-old now, I can really feel the work working, but it took a really, really long time for that to start to manifest into itself.
Yeah. One thing that I've heard you say is calling it playing offense, right? So the serviceable component is more reactive, but flipping that on its head and saying, I'm going to create something that I love, a docuseries that I would want to, be paid to bring to life. walk me through the offense and how you thought about creating the Converse campaign and creating concepts that you were resonating more with.
Yeah, that was a huge factor for me. I obviously reached out to a lot of people when I moved here, but I've always believed in the work that you create organically or no budget or however you want to say, putting that out in the world and letting the right people find it. That's the beauty of social media, is that actually works. And I've hoped that I'm proof in the pudding that it does, because instead of doing cold reach outs of sending decks to brands or sending pitches to companies and businesses or people, I decided that it would be worth my time to invest making the actual projects that I want. And it started with making the doc series for Create More, which is really similar to the work that I do with Minted now. It was more of an interview show, but the actual premise of it is the same thing, where you're giving people a real look inside their life into 10 to 15 minute episodes, and you're getting to the actual rawness of what are their business they're building or their brand they're building, and it's all driven through real documentary storytelling. And the premise or the idea of creating that was, I wanted to also get the reps and understand what it took and how much I should charge, or if I need help, and what's the whole time put into it. You don't know until you do it. You can put out a brief, or you can put out an idea of what you think, but until you do it and really edit it and put it out in the world, you have no idea how much it's worth or what people are going to resonate with. So doing it for free for myself and my friends for like 5 to 6 episodes before I ever got paid for one made that hit even harder, because I was so prepared once that first opportunity came, that it's like, sports analogy, but taking a bunch of shots, and then when you get the shot that like really matters, you crush it.
Yeah.
And I think that's how that spec work for me really helped me grow, and also really helped me understand who I am. You learn a lot more about yourself when you do something for free, and you're the one that's driving it and getting all these people involved and trying to tell people, yeah, like, this is what we're doing and we want you to be a part of it. When you put yourself on the line like that. So I think that, and then the Converse campaign was just something that I've always thought about and wanted to do, and I'm wearing Converse right now.
Present.
I just love the brand, and I love making personal stories that I hope resonate with people. And so for the Converse thing, I roped in a couple friends and really invested like time and money and got a studio, and it got to the point where when we made it, I had friends from high school that thought that it was real, and a lot of people thought that it was real.
Dude, that is awesome.
And at first I was like, yeah, I'm a fraud. Like, this is a spec ad. I did not get paid. There's no brand endorsement here. But then I was able to connect with the actual Converse team, and I was talking to them on the meeting, and they were like, we thought we made this. We were confused. Like, this fits the brand really well, and maybe down the line, 5 years or whatever, it'd be really cool to work on something together. But shout out to Converse, and also that project really helped me understand what I would need to do for when we directed all the Minted campaigns that are more, 45 to 60 seconds of commercialized work. And the fact that it was a shoe and then another shoe really helped me practice for what mattered.
I think it was cool to see in the comments too of the Converse campaign, people, once they realized that it wasn't a real ad, were just adding Converse, like, you guys need to pick this guy up immediately. Exactly. Which had to be super validating.
It was really cool. And that's the power of the internet. I don't have a big following. And at the time I had way less of a following, but it's still when I meet people now, like creatives that I'm connected with, they'll bring up the Converse project, even though it was like a year or two ago. And I think that it's cool that it had some legs, and it's made its way, and it's held a weight a little bit.
Yeah, it had personality too, which I think is super important, man. And it's hard to come by. Talk to me about the story with Montes and how you got that opportunity. From the outside looking in, it has picked up steam and is one of the brands that I look at in New York City as having that cult-like audience that if you know, you know, and people are very excited to follow along, which I attribute a lot of that success to you. Would love to hear from you how that opportunity came about.
Yeah. Funny enough, I was on TikTok Live. I wasn't on TikTok Live. Marcus was on TikTok Live packing orders, and I just threw in the chat. I was like, love this stuff. Like, keep it up. Because I was a fan of the brand before and knew what they were doing roughly. I wasn't like so ingrained, but I was definitely following along. And he was reading the thing and he was like, yo, I've seen your stuff before. You should send me an email. Sent him an email. And this was in February of 2023. Went back and forth. Didn't end up doing anything, but I should look at the email, but it's literally what the episode's now. I emailed him saying, what if we documented a drop day and showed the BTS of everything from the run in the morning to the Uber over, like that was in writing. And so the same idea of what we do now was sort of manifested through that. But 6 months go by, we don't chat, and it's all part of the thing. You know, some things happen when the time is right. And he hit me up and he was like, are you available to revisit this and document some training for the marathon? And running content was big back then, but now it's everyone is a running content creator. And so documenting that build up to the marathon was still, I would say, fresh. There's always been docuseries and stuff like that, but specifically in New York, that was like, he was willing to invest his time, and Sean and Clay too. They were, you know, this is big. We're going to tell this whole story, not just through TikTok, but for YouTube. So it was new to all of us. But the funny thing is, when I first met him or talked to him, we never discussed anything like, okay, so I want the shots to look like this, or I want the audio to be like this. And that's something that I've always really respected about him is when he hired me for a reason. And the work that I had produced earlier was a good representation of, I think, what he wanted. We just never talked about it. And so when I hit him with that first cut after doing all the filming, they were excited. And I think they also saw the value behind it once they posted on YouTube, and their community seemed to really resonate with it. But the beauty of this is that he saw the value in it, and Sean did, and the whole team did, to the point where we haven't stopped. And that was in 2023 fall, and it's been every 2 weeks, new episodes since then.
Like 5 episodes last year?
Oh yeah, I think
26?
like 26 episodes last year. And it's a lot.
Yeah. Along with all the other stuff, you got brand deals.
Yeah,
Montes.
and I'm so grateful on it, like truly. And I'll always tell them that, because it's really rare that you ever get to work with someone where they built a brand for something and they just say, yeah, you go do your thing, and let's just go meet up and film, and we trust you. Rarely ever any notes or creative direction, and I'm super grateful because it's helped me grow a lot. When you have to make a new mini doc every 2 weeks, you find some ways to hone in on your craft and really like figure it out.
Yeah.
And without them, there's no way I'd be in this position.
Yeah.
Just because I'm way more confident with my ability to tell a story, and their brand seemed to really resonate with that style of content, which if you're on YouTube now, that style of content is everywhere, building a brand or building in public or whatever it is. And I like to think that we weren't ahead of the wave at all, but I would say that we've stayed consistent through the whole thing, and we try to make our videos as authentic and real as possible.
Mm-hmm. I think importantly, you wouldn't have been, well, I don't want to say you wouldn't have been, but taking those early opportunities and saying yes to those, free campaigns gave you the tools that you needed to step into the Minted role, to put on that like creative director hat and feel confident enough to bring it to life, which I think is so important for all of us, right? Like you need to put in those early reps so that when that opportunity comes in front of you and you're like, holy shit, you feel ready to tackle that challenge. And obviously you're still learning through it, but I feel like because you set yourself up, you know, that 6, 7, 8 years before that, you were in a position to really put yourself, you know, in a better light.
You nailed it on the head. And you don't know that when you start it, but you know that after 2 years of doing it, that every time you're setting up the mic or you're rigging up your camera, you're on the bike filming, it's like the reps really take care of themselves.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm not so surprised anymore with the stuff that we make. I think I was surprised for the first 5 to 10 episodes. And then that feeling of repetition and muscle memory becomes a habit.
The bike shots are always incredible, man. I've loved when you've recorded or somebody else has recorded you on the bike, recorded Marcus or one of the guys on the team. It's awesome to see. Did you come up with that yourself?
Riding on the bike?
Yeah.
No. I think
somewhere.
I can't remember. I mean, there's definitely people that were doing it forever ago, but it was just what made the most sense for me. And I'd get up at 5:30, go meet them. They used to live in Hell's Kitchen. I'd bike from East Village to Hell's Kitchen I'd bike with my camera bag, get to his place really early, unpack all the stuff, get the mics on them, and then I go follow them for 10, 15 miles, wherever they run, through Central Park, bike back, and then that would be my morning, and that would be one scene of a video. And I think that I really enjoy spending time with them. I think they're funny, and I really like them as humans. And you can't do that if you don't really believe in someone or their brand, because it's pretty taxing, and you can start to resent certain things. But I've always believed in Minted and what they're doing. So
one of the things you mentioned, and I know just about your past, creating consistently, super important for you. 26 docs with Minted, brand deals. How does your creative process work, and how do you think about coming up with new ideas that feel organic to you and not just something that you see from somebody else?
Yeah, I think for like client facing things, or for Minted or for Montes, a lot of those things are pre-existing within their schedules. So say if they have a drop, or they have a race, or they have a event pop up, shoe release, those help me understand what we can build the story around. And then for my own content, I've sort of found this lane where I create content or tell stories about stories that I've told and what I've learned through that. And that has definitely become more of a thing over the last year. But truthfully, sometimes I just be in the laundromat, and I don't know why it's the laundromat, but it's been my vehicle to write scripts for some reason. I have no idea why, but I've probably wrote my last 8 to 10 video scripts in the laundromat.
Wow. While you're waiting for your laundry.
Yeah. And I don't know why. Like the most like complex videos that I've made, I'm just on my phone in Notion writing, and like they probably think I'm crazy because I'm like writing and I'm like vibing. I'm off like 8 copies.
Yeah.
And I think that my creative process looks different, but writing is the biggest thing for me. I have to write. If I'm going to use my voice, I have to write. My brain doesn't work the way where I can just go off the riff. And I've had a better idea of how I like to shot list and create a framework for these longer, more intense stories. But it's taken me a long time to even understand what pre-production is and how it can help. And having a studio that I'm able to film and edit and post in the same day has empowered me a lot to just get shit done, you know? And if I have the resources, what are we doing? Because I would always blame, oh my God, I'm in my tiny room. I don't even know where my gear is. It's under the bed. I don't know what to do. My roommates are loud. But now that I have the space that I've always wanted to really just create in, there's no more excuses. And I know a lot of people dream about that. So I don't ever want to be someone that, makes excuses for the resources that they don't have, or, how they're feeling on that day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think one thing too that I noticed from you as well is you do a great job of putting yourself out there and giving yourself experiences that then feed into content. You're not like just scrolling on Instagram trying to get inspired. It's like, no, you put that shit away and you go live your life, and you go, give yourself reps so that you have material to then create something that's unique to you and the project or vision that you see. And I think for me personally, I struggle with that a lot. It's like I'll see stuff on Instagram and I'll compare myself, or like want to take inspiration from it, but it's just noise at the end of the day. Creating your own process so that you feel confident and excited about this direction because it came through you and you channeled it from the universe or whatever you want to call it, I think is unique. And if that's a laundromat, incredible, right?
Yeah.
Then you're just chilling in the laundromat 5 days a week,
Yeah. No, and that point you just made is, I have a hard time consolidating that into that, but that is exactly how I've approached every video for the past 20 videos or whatever it is on my Instagram or YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the same exact way. Instagram is a great platform to be inspired and follow people and learn more about their journey, but it won't do any of the work for you. And I've always felt the most inspired when my phone is away. And when I go through that actual process of, damn, this is a tough one to write, or, I had a shitty flight home. Let's make a story about that. And the people that'll tell you, oh, you got to post 3 times a day and you got to follow this Instagram strategy and do all this stuff. That may work for some people. It's not my personal preference, because I think if you really want to tell something from the heart, or you want to display a message that is real and authentic, for me, I have to live that story. And I think that it's helped me understand where I stand in terms of the creator community or my lane that I can be in.
More is not better.
No, and I want to make that clear, because I went a lot of my life thinking that in order to get in the algorithm and in order to grow, you have to do this. And this may be a hot take, but like, I think all of that is bullshit. And I think that real content and real art will find the right people. And I've seen that over the last 6 months. I've been on Instagram for forever, and then my account finally started to grow and find the right people. And my content didn't change, really. It was just the reps and the time and the stories. Eventually, after a while, you create this portfolio that you're really proud of. And if they like one video, they might like 20 videos. But if you are just focused on the quantity, and you lose sight of what's behind it, meat, and the actual value that providing, it's not gonna last.
Yeah, it's not a winning game. I love it, man. I think that's so important, and something that people, I think nowadays, and I fall victim to this too, of just like, put yourself out there, 1 video a day, top of mind thought, you just need to put yourself out there. And I don't think that's the recipe for success. I think breaking through the noise is so important, because it's hard to do. And especially like nowadays, when everyone seems to have fucking podcast or want to become a creator or tell a story, differentiating yourself is so hard to do. And it seems like you found that through authenticity and finding your own purpose and storytelling.
For sure. And to piggyback on both of our points on this, there's also a beauty of creating parameters for yourself as a creative, whether it's, okay, we are going to make a video a day, and this is the lane that I'm going to try. But I think that all these different formulas that people will try to tell you or sell you on, they may work for you. But long term, I'm saying, like, if you really want this to be your career, and you don't want to just grow quickly and then resent everything, you have to create those parameters for yourself. That's the biggest thing. Someone could tell you, oh, you got to make a video every day for 30 days. But when you tell yourself you're going to make a video and you make that promise to yourself, that's completely different, because you're doing it for you.
Yeah. You have to fall in love with the process.
And your process.
Yeah.
Because how you make videos is not how I make videos.
Yeah. It's definitely
not. No. But I just wanted to say that because a big part of my growth through my creative process has been through making parameters for myself. Even in college, I was like, I'm going to make a YouTube video every week. I don't care how many views it gets. I'm going to tell a story every week from what my friends and I did. And then when I moved here, I did a 100-day TikTok challenge where I was like, I'm going to make a story every day, and they're going to be high quality videos. I don't want them to be. And then I went to go get a coffee and I did this, and I wanted to hold that standard. So the parameters that you create for yourself are really important, but also beneath the parameters are like, what is the quality in it?
The experimentation framework of it too. It's like this podcast, for instance, like we committed to 10 episodes and we're going to try it. We're going to see how it feels. If after 10 episodes, everything falls flat and we're like, this isn't the right medium to bring the storytelling component to life, great. But we tried, and this was my attempt at creating something that's compelling, that is leaning into what I hope to be is like my craft. And you never know, but you have to try, you have to do it, do the damn thing. Don't talk about it. Don't write about it. Don't create a to-do list. Try it, see how it feels, and iterate from there. But I think you've done that masterfully. So
thank you.
Create More now has its own studio.
Yes.
You just went live with your brother.
Yeah. The spring of 2024, I felt this urge of wanting more and wanting to have a real space to work. I didn't know if that was in a shared space. I was working at a Ludlow house, which was fine. That was cool, but you can't film in there. And I wanted something that was private. And it also just so happened that my brother also wanted something. His art business started to pick up some steam, and he had a studio, but it was 100 square feet, no natural light. And we decided that let's go through the process of at least looking, let's just put ourselves in a position where we can say no. But if we just talk, nothing's going to happen. So we started viewing some spaces in Tribeca and mainly like lower Manhattan, just based off of where we were living. It made the most sense, but really discouraging. No spaces were seeming to be as cool as they looked online or as big. And we found a lot of ways to justify, like, you could be there and, well, whatever. We would just take shifts and doing things that we knew long-term weren't the right fit. But we somehow, through my sister-in-law's childhood friend, Julian, he is now running this really, really cool Italian vintage store called Abreu, which is in the front of our studio. And he went in on a commercial space, and when he was viewing the commercial space, he noticed that there was a back room that no one had been in for 10 to 12 years. It was filled with all this random shit and really a lot of question marks of like what was actually the use of it back then. But he sent it to Jake, and we went and checked it out, and that was in March. And just to give you an idea of the process of how long this type of stuff takes, because I was like, dude, let's do it right now. Oh my God, this is it. We have a skylight. It's 1,200 square feet. You can paint in the corner. We're gonna have to do a lot of work, but I'm willing to put it in. And we were doing all the financials of, when you put down money, and also when you think about your overhead every month, it can drive you a little crazy. But we both knew that it would make sense for both of us to really like grow in.
Mm-hmm.
And we went back and forth with the broker, and it's a long process. New York, they'll try to get you. Finalize the lease, and then we moved in August 1. So it was this whole lead up of like, yeah, we're getting this studio, and it's sort of a shithole. Like, hopefully it works out. And I remember walking in on that first day after we got the keys, and the place had that weird musty smell. No one had been in it. It just got cleared out, and I walked in solo, and I was like, oh my God, this is so cool, but what the fuck did we just get ourselves into? Like, this is a completely blank space. There's spiders everywhere. There's like cobwebs everywhere. And I was also in a point where I couldn't afford to just tell all my clients like, yo, I'm gonna just build out my studio for a month and like see you guys in September. the work had to continue, and we made it work. And I'm so grateful that I had someone to do it with. Probably some of the most funny bonding moments have happened from when we were cleaning it and when we were really like on Facebook Marketplace trying to find stuff for it and also maintaining our day-to-day work. But I feel like as of yesterday, we finally got new chairs. it feels like us,
Yeah.
you know, and it's just taken a really long time to get it to feel like not a home, but to feel cozy and feel Snowden, you know. It's been a dream of mine to do anything with Jake in a creative scene, as I've always looked up to him. But to share a space was truly not something I had in mind. And it's been a huge, huge upgrade for both of us. And so when he has art clients come in to check out stuff, and I have video people come in to be a part of someone's journey, but also be a fly on the wall, my headphones in the corner, that's special. I'll never forget that. Even if we don't have it forever, to share that little chapter of his life with him is really, really cool.
Yeah, his artwork is sick too.
Thanks.
Shout out to Jake.
I said thank you. Thank you as if I didn't make any of it. No, and I'll make this short, but Jake is someone who I find it really interesting, his journey through creating art, because he took art in high school. His art teacher told him he sucked. He didn't make art for 10 years. And then during COVID, he just decided, he's always had great taste, but he just decided, I'm going to start abstract painting. What's the worst that could happen? He was in my parents' garage. But Jake's 30 now. So a lot of people don't like try something new later. And he just decided, I'm going to start painting, and sold maybe his first painting for, I don't know, $100, $200, and has really put a lot of work in to learn how to frame himself, learn how to stretch himself. And sure, you could look at the paintings and say, oh, that's cool. That's just colors. But he's like cranking out paintings. I don't think people understand how taxing that is to really make all the stuff yourself and create that experience for people and do custom commissions. So to see him do that, and all this to say that it's never too late to try something. I don't think he ever thought that, you know, he could really make at least, you know, half, if not more, of his income from art. Really selling art on a consistent basis is crazy. Because I'm providing a service. People are buying art because they just like it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, art's not a necessity.
Right.
So kudos to him. And also, I'm excited to see where he goes.
Yeah. From the outside looking in, it looks like you guys have a great relationship. I'm curious, a lot of people, I don't want to say a lot, some people would say never get into business with family or even close friends, and that's not how I operate. But curious from you how that's felt, you know, owning a space or renting a space with your brother. Has that enhanced the relationship, or has it been at times like butting heads?
Yeah, I mean, it's not all sunshine and rainbows, but for us, even when we're butting heads, it's fun. And I think that there's always been that mutual respect. He's a big brother, but he never treats me like a little brother. And I've always loved that. He's always really, we're just friends, you know, and I think that we have each other's best interests in mind all the time. But it can be tough, you know. For me, I've always looked up to him and his taste. So I'm like, yeah, you take care of all the rugs and stuff like that. Like, I trust you. Just send me the Venmo. But you know, we're trying to divide up the space, and I'm like, dude, get your paintings out of the way. Like, there's paint everywhere. And that's part of learning, is like, I would never have wanted to share it with anyone else, but you're also sharing something with someone else. Mm-hmm. And I think that sometimes when I'm typing away at my computer and he's over there, it feels a little bit fake. I'm like, do we even have jobs? Like, what are you possibly doing right now? Because I never would have thought that would be where we ended up.
Yeah.
But no, I think that for the most part, it's been so positive, and he is who I look to for advice. Even when I was going through the startup thing and going through all these different chapters, of the first person I call, if not him, my dad or my mom. But there's so much to be learned from the people that have come before you. And I know we live in a social media age of, oh, there's this sick 22-year-old who did this, and, you know, whatever. I've always found older people to have really, really solid advice, especially people that I look up to, no matter what industry they're in or what they do for, you know, a living. I feel like there's so much to be learned from people that have experienced life and really like done it, you know? So
somebody that's been there along the way for you too and knows your values and what you stand for. Recent note that I wanted to touch on, online hate. Obviously, like as your platform expands, there's going to be naysayers in the comments. And I saw somebody recently had a comment towards you about your brother. Can you walk me through what happened?
Yeah, we're gonna get it framed because it's so good. And it's so
fuck that guy.
But it's genuinely like it's turned into the best bit we could ever imagine because
alley-oop.
Jake is literally the worst person on tech. Like he barely knows how to use a phone. So to think of him actually editing a video is and truthfully told myself too, I'm so bad at building things. When people hand me a drill or like a hammer, I'm like, dude, oh my God, just put me back in Final Cut Pro. I'm the worst. So for Jake,
context.
the context is the comment was, I forget the exact word, but it's disgusting or what. It's hateful that you think that you can do what Jake does. Fuck, can I?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. I'm gonna botch it. It's too good to like.
Yeah.
I won't read the username. It's so insulting that you think editing videos is on par with something like painting. Jake can't do what you do, but he can learn it in a weekend. You'll never learn Jake's. And I obviously texted him right away because this is like one of the best comments we've ever had. And I've always joked with him that my community seems to be so positive. It would be cool to get some hate every once in a while, to know that we're breaking through. And that was the real first one that hit that. And then there was another comment where someone went through and like researched everything that we had purchased for the studio. And they were like, this just isn't adding up. Y'all are like trust fund babies. And then, and it was like,
yes.
He's like, there's the Scandinavian style like travertine that you bought. Like there's no way. And it's like a 3-paragraph long thing. And I texted to Jake and I was like, dude, this is so cool. Like we broke through, you know? And Jake's not even online like that, but I found it really endearing to like share that with him. And like, we're going back and forth as a bit, but he knows that that's like not true. And yeah, I think back to your original question of getting hate online, I've gone most of my short-lived career without really getting any hate, mainly really, really positive. But I know that as we continue to grow and as you continue to put yourself out there, I think that's the biggest thing is like numbers or whatever. But when you really put yourself out there, it can be easy to feel like when someone comments, you told us everything but the rent. And I was like, yeah, of course I didn't tell you the rent. Like I'm not here to share that stuff with you, you know? And part of you wants to just comment back and be like, yeah, of course. Like, I'm sorry, I can't share that, you know? But it's really the world we live in. And if you decide to put yourself out like that, that's part of the game. It's part of the game. And also, does it really matter? Does anything really matter? The only time I'll ever get really worked up or frustrated is if I ever have like a conversation that really bugs me, which is so rare. But anything online is, even if it's positive, it feels good, but you're like, it's just words on the screen, you know? We're still humans and we need real conversations. So the comments are definitely funny, and I hope that they get funnier, honestly, just for the sake of the bit.
When you say conversation, are you talking about just like when you're working with people and it might get...
Yeah, I think like through real experiences, you know, like that's how I feel like I'm very affected if I have a bad experience or if I have a conversation with someone that feels belittling or, you know, people aren't taking me serious or whatever, but a YouTube comment or whatever, like that can't truly the keyboard warrior, you know?
Do you still get those comments that are belittling or people don't really take you seriously? I feel like now it's probably a little bit different.
Yeah, I feel like this goes back to what we talked about earlier, but really no one's ever commented anything that hateful. It's probably just me being oversensitive or insecure about wanting to be taken seriously. And I think especially just going through college and high school, I've always wanted to be really great at something, like really great. I didn't know what that looked like. And I think the first couple of things I tried to be great at, I never was great at. And filmmaking for me seems like the most, the highest ceiling. And telling people that you want to do something versus just doing it was a huge hurdle that I had to jump over and spend the time putting in hours every day editing. And my high school friends would always be like, dude, what are you doing? Like, literally, what are you doing? You're editing a YouTube video that's going to get 400 views. And I'm like, yeah, you're like slow-mo bike riding. You look sick. I'm going to tell this whole
do a flip or something.
Yeah, I'm like, you're also part of this, dude. You're going to think this is funny in 10 years. But I want to say this because I've had parents that never questioned me once. And that's really rare. And I find that to be a huge privilege. And I want to talk about them every single time I talk about maybe my story or my journey, because my mom filming all my high school games, my mom never questioned me once when I was in my room for 10 hours editing a documentary for the high school film festival contest. They never questioned me once. And my dad's always been so empowering through this whole journey. They've never said like, oh, you're going to be the next Scorsese or you're going to be the next Casey Neistat. They were just like, you should just keep doing it. And I think that's a huge, huge learning, is having those people around you that they don't glaze you or they don't really make you feel like you're on top of a mountain, but they also give you that emotional support when you need it.
Yeah. When you were launching the studio full time, quitting the startup, what was their response to that?
Their response always is, are you healthy and are you good? Because they know that if I'm going to do something, I'm really going to try and do it. And for them, they're just always like, is your head on straight? Are you good? They're parents at the end of the day. But, you know, my mom was the first person I would always share my videos with ever since I was a kid. And I think that she's still the first person I'll text or whatever to get feedback. And when I made this documentary called Growing Up Sucks, which was like a 35-minute doc about me, sort of everything that we're talking about encapsulated into a video, I had a conversation with my dad after where my dad's always been very complimentary of my work, but a dad to a son relationship is different than a dad to a mom or a son to a mom. And he told me, he's like, I really liked it. And I'm not even saying that because you're my son. And I remember that conversation because I was like, damn, like my dad likes my videos, you know, and
I made it.
And ironically, the video that's performed the best and has helped me grow the most is a video that he filmed 20 years ago, me bugging him for the VHS. And that's sort of led into this whole sizzle reel of what I've been up to for the last 2 years. But that's the support shown through something that was real. Like that was a real clip that I found and damn near almost cried because I was like, holy shit, I really, really wanted to do this as a kid. You don't realize that, but when you hear a clip of yourself in 2004, 20 years ago, and you're like, Dad, give me the video camera. And he's like, I don't know if you know how to do this. And I'm like, give it to me, you know? Like, I want the smoke.
That video is incredible, man. It's so powerful. Walk me through it. I know you gave the intro, but.
Yeah, that's a video that, funny enough, 5-6 years ago, I actually used that clip in a video when I didn't have really any following at all. I probably had like 1,000 followers. And I made a video that it's called, to this song called Slow Up. And it's like the Jacob Banks is saying like, don't grow up on me, all this stuff. And it's me pairing my life back to when I was a kid and trying to emulate all those different scenes. And it starts with that same exact intro of what I used for the video that sort of went viral. And I was just editing one day in the studio, and sometimes things come to me and I was like, damn, I should post a little like 20-30 second clip of my work and my favorite work from this year, because it was in November. And I was like, my brain starts going off and I'm like, but that's not the Sam Snowden way. You got to make it this dramatic story. And I decided to put that at the front and pair it with the clips. And it did well on the first day, but I did not expect it to.
It flew, dude.
It flew, and the biggest thing for me is it flew but it stuck. And for people to click follow after watching a 30, 45-second video, and then also watch the next one and the next one and hopefully the next one, or even go to the YouTube, I didn't expect that. Because sometimes virality is cool, but it's also, doesn't hold much weight. And it held weight.
It's validating. It's
crazy. Sometimes I'll get random DMs about it or whatever, because the video has spread so far now that I sort of forgot about it, but it's still going. And it's cool to see that video really took 20 years to make. From my dad filming to me doing all the work to figure out how I can be the best filmmaker, and then showing tangibly my best work. And I think that's why it hit for people, is that the journey wasn't 3 years, it was 20. And people were always like, he's the best dad. Like, and when he says like, make something happen, I still got to make him a t-shirt or something about it. But I get
copyright.
I get chills because make something happen is create more, basically.
Yeah.
But yeah,
that's so cool. You see the life cycle of Sam Snowden as a videographer, man. And the fact that your dad was involved is also just like touching. You see his support and your mom's support like from a distance, and how it's impacted your career, which is so powerful. I want to backpedal a little bit, talking about the hate. In that same vein is external validation. And when you are somebody that is working with brands or putting out docuseries yourself, naturally as a creative, ties to the followers and the likes and the comments has to be part of the process. But how do you manage that relationship with the validation externally and creating for the sake of creating, and, channeling something, being excited about putting something out there, but not allowing how everyone else perceives it to impact, the way that you feel about it?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's also super relevant to the world we live in now, because chances are your friend is starting something up. There's a new Instagram page up. There's a new YouTube channel. It's so overwhelming. And a lot of the ways that we try to justify it in our head is, well, like, shit, that dude's doing well. Like, he's got 100K or whatever. But something that puts my mind at ease, and what I've always tried to implement in my workflow is, all right, delete my account, put away everything. If I showed you this video right now and you didn't know who I was, would you be proud of it? Is it a good video? And I think that's what I've tried to implement every single time I make a new video is, yes, I'm hyper aware of how this could be impactful for my community, or this could be great for retention edits or whatever it is. Like, it flows very well, and I'm obviously thinking about all that stuff. But erase everything. If I show you the video and we're just in a room together and Instagram's not a thing, you like it? And even if you don't like it, did you watch all the way through? And like, did you like the music? And did you like all the small edits that I added? All the real things that matter, which is the craft and the storytelling. That is what I always try and put. Obviously, we're human. We're always thinking about things that could help boost. But that's external validation wise. I try my best, and I'm not perfect at it. I don't think anyone is. We're all human. To put that at the forefront of at least my mental, what I'm thinking when I'm making it, and then whatever happens when you post it happens. And it's a crazy feeling when a video does well, and it's also a shitty feeling when a video doesn't do well. So where are you going to find that happy medium? Because not every video is going to be the one we just talked about that got like 2 million views. In fact, I don't even know if I'll ever have a video that hit 2 million views. So
do you 10 million match?
Yeah, 15 million. And yeah, let's put some ads on it. I just try and do my best to make the process paramount.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any strategies that accompany that? Like, some people talk about posting and ghosting, right? They just post and then they don't look at it for 24 hours. I know.
Yeah, I can't do that.
Yeah, you got to comment
Respect
back.
to all those people that do that. Only time I do that is if I time it on a flight, and then I like dopamine hit like 5 hours later. But No, I'm chronically on my phone, and I'll be the first person to tell you that I check my Instagram all the time. And I hate the like, just get off social media. Like for me, it's where I get a lot of my opportunities. I'm on it all the time because it's business for me also.
Yeah,
And I'm also trying to my best to engage with the community.
for sure.
It's pretty random that I'm talking to strangers every day about trying to answer some camera questions or trying to send a voice note to some kid in Kentucky that's 18 and trying to figure it out. But
Wow.
I just like, I use that example because I never take that for granted. Sometimes when I feel overwhelmed and I'm like, what am I doing this for? There will be people in the DMs that remind me. And external validation in terms of how you can not strategize, in terms of how you can try and minimize that feeling, is unfortunately doing it, one, because you love it, and two, giving yourself other ways to celebrate wins that aren't views, that aren't saves or shares or followers. And for me, like that's physical. So when I do something, I check it off and I'm like, that's a win regardless. You guys do 10 episodes, huge win. Most people in their whole life never do 10 creative projects back to back consecutively. So I think the wins, this goes back to what we were talking about earlier with creating parameters. Within those parameters that you create, you should also create a system of how you justify your wins and how you maximize your internal validation for the things that you're making. And I think that's something that I'm going to try to hold on, hopefully for the next however long my career goes, because the numbers and all that stuff, I think will start to feel numb at some point, you know? And the only time I really feel like there is momentum and stuff like that is when I have conversations with people in person and we talk about maybe how the videos have affected them or whatever that is. And New York has a really cool way of, if someone knows you and someone actually fucks with you, they'll come up and say, what's up? There's no ego. It's just, yo, like I've seen the videos or whatever. Like, and that's really, really cool. I've never in my life thought that would happen.
That's awesome.
But yeah.
It's important to note too, the way that you're engaging with viewers, if you want to call them fans, whatever, is how you build an engaged audience and community for Create More. Because not only are you putting content out there that resonates, but you're also engaging with them and you're showing that you give a shit, and you do, right? That's how you build 1,000 true fans, which at the end of the day is how you build a business. It's how you build a brand. And that's, a beautiful thing.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, I am pretty overwhelmed with trying to figure out what makes the most sense in terms of my time on a daily basis. And so to take 30 minutes out of your day and respond to people, and maybe it's an email of someone that just wanted to get something off their chest. Sometimes you think about the monetary side of it and you're like, well, yeah, I'd obviously love to help everyone, but I got to finish this edit and I got to get this thing up on Instagram. I think it's just trying to find a balance and always going back to that medium happy ground of like, you know, not every day someone's going to tell you you're inspiring or whatever, but you have to find that for yourself. And if you're lucky enough to have people that have followed along your journey and see value in your content, like tell them that. Like I always tell people that. I'm like, thanks for watching. It's so hard to get people to watch something nowadays. Yeah. If you watch a thing for 60 seconds, I'm like, thank you. You know, like we're all rotting our brains on TikTok. So if you watch a YouTube video, like, thank you. That's a huge deal. And just figuring out how you can provide the most value to them that's not in a scammy way.
Yeah. One of my favorite things about you is the art of reflection for you. At the end of every year, you have your lessons learned, and it's very transparent. It feels extremely honest to you. You talk about the consistency that you showed last year. You talked about answering yourself as a business owner and as a creative. Can you talk a little bit about those lessons learned and how that might help somebody who's entering the world of a creative space or trying to become a videographer?
Yeah, I think for the last 3 years, I've done a little, I guess you call them postcard or like cards on Instagram where I just share things that I've learned, and I really try to not have them be things of advice. That that's the last lane that I want to get in, is being a guru or being someone who's should be looked at for answers, because that's just not where I'm at, and that's not where really I ever want to be at. I just use that end of year reflection as a way for me to be as transparent and also as real with myself as possible. I just happen to also share it with people. But when you write something down versus, talking, I'm always a yapper and I'm down to make videos where I'm talking. But when you sit down and write, it's a different level of reflection. And I think that also resonates with people, that you can sit down and read and like be in your space and not have a guy tell you what he learned, versus just like, objectively, let's just read this. They're never long, but maybe I can find a little piece of myself in this. And it's been a great, really, really great tool. One, for me to help, I guess it's the worst word to use, but to share my experiences, but also for me to be like, what the fuck did I even do this year? And what did I really learn? And the biggest thing I would say from last year that I learned was like answering yourself, and something that we talked about when we got coffee is just making decisions on a daily basis of, is this worth it? Should I do this project? Should I go for a run? Should I get some food? And I knew when I signed up to be an independent contractor and do this whole thing solo, I knew that was going to be paramount to everything. Throw away the video skills, throw away the business skills. Everything is reliant on what you decide to do. And you could be the best videographer, you could be the craziest singer, but until you put yourself in a situation where you have to say yes or no on a daily basis, that's when you really figure out, do you like this? And is this worth it? So that question of answering yourself every year seems to get tougher, because more opportunities are coming. And I think as you get older, you figure out where you want to spend your time, and you become a little bit more rigid with your schedule and your routine. And I've become married to that. So whatever comes outside and those decisions that you have to make become a lot harder, and you feel the weight of them a lot heavier.
Yeah. We talked a little bit earlier about when you moved to New York, saying yes brought you a lot of opportunities, and that then forged the path for new things like Minted or Montes. Now it feels like you're in this answering yourself and listening to you saying no more. Can you walk me through how that process evolved for you, of saying yes on the front end and now getting to a space where you're like probably saying no 95, 98% of the time?
Yeah. And this I don't want to come off as arrogant, or because opportunities that come in there's never been really a bad one. It's just more learning that I always believed that I was letting people down when I said no. Even if it was, hey, Sam, can you come shoot this in the morning? And I'm like, yeah, I probably could, but I don't really want to. And not wanting to do something is totally fine. But when you first are trying to build that network, you never want the reputation of, I can't do it just because I don't want to do it. I would always make the time and throw myself in 50 different places to make it happen. But now, learning more about myself and learning about where I want to go, the power of saying no is really, really powerful, because you're able to create, I wouldn't say like a brand for yourself, but you hold values. If, say, I get an opportunity to do X, Y, Z, and it doesn't necessarily fit me and doesn't fit the timing that I have, it's okay to say no. And the beauty of New York is that I've been able to refer a lot of my really, really talented friends, and they've also referred me to jobs. But that's the cool side of it, is that just because you can't do it or you don't want to do it, someone will. And passing that around and creating an ecosystem for yourself has been really, really special. Something that I never thought I'd be able to pass around, but also something that when I moved here, I was reliant on. Other people being like, yeah, there's this kid, Sam, who just moved here. He'll shoot your DJ set, whatever. And I hopefully, through Create More And through my brand of videos that I make, I'm able to pass that along.
Yeah. Alongside reps and putting yourself out there, if I'm somebody that just moved to New York and I'm trying to get more involved with my creative passion, what advice would you give to that person? And you don't even have to frame it as advice, but what context would you give them and saying yes and determining for them what might be the right opportunity to chase? Is it naturally just a gut feeling, or is there something that you would push them towards trying to tap into for themselves?
Yeah, I mean, I can mainly speak from a video, maybe a little bit of photo side of things. But the process is going to be different for everyone. And I know a lot of people that do a lot of cold outreach. I know a lot of people that don't. I know a lot of people that shoot 8 times a week. Some people shoot once a week. Holding your values through meeting all these new people and understanding what type of stories and people you want to be around is huge, but you don't need to know it right away. You don't need to be hard set in your ways. But at the top of everything, I would say, and this is going to sound like a really basic answer, but you have to treat people right. And I only say this because I've been able to build like long-term relationships with people, and where I can say now that we're friends and we really believe in each other. I think that 80% of filmmaking is also just understanding when to be in the room, when to not be in the room, when to talk, when to not talk, when to just listen. There is so many things that you can't put on a LinkedIn description of a job. And I learned that because I never fit any of those job descriptions. I always knew that if I just got in the space and got with the right people, I could provide some type of value. That was my process. However it works for you, but you have to give yourself some grace through that pursuit because it's not intuitive at all. Seriously, if you told me this would be my path, I would be like, what? And do I want to do that again? And I think that you have to really, really give yourself some time. We live in an age where everything happens fast and people are successful at 20, 19, 21. Everyone's making money, freedom. You're seeing all this shit online. It's all bullshit. And I say it's all bullshit because it's not actually applicable to your life at all. Truly. Like, you can take inspiration from it, but watching someone else live their life is doing nothing for you. And so once you decide to like go full tilt and really go all in on what you want to do, you have to be so like proud of yourself through that whole process, because no one's ever going to really cheer you on. You got to like back yourself. And that's where I feel like that pursuit that we always talk about and that endless answering yourself question, you got to be willing to like sign the contract on that for life.
Absolutely, man. Alex Hormozy is somebody that I've listened to before, and he talks a lot about being the lone person in your auditorium who's clapping for yourself until you climb that mountain, and you have to continue to show up as that person, because a lot of times it's just going to be you, and trusting that you're showing up for the right reasons and balancing that between looking externally to see how people are taking things, but you got to be your own cheerleader. And
For sure.
yeah, I think that's important. What's up with Create More? What's next? What are you guys thinking about? I know you have a documentary coming out later this year.
Yes.
Early summer.
Create More has been one vehicle for me to just continue on, and as I'm figuring it out every single day, I'm writing in my journal, Create More. And as much as it's been a vehicle for me, it's also been a cool outlet for my friends and I, who I've become really close with, to create a brand of videos that we've done sporadically over the last 2 years, but we decided in December, like, let's do this and let's make it a season and let's take it seriously and let's act as a team and be really, really professional with this. And so we have 4 new guests, 4 new documentaries. One, a mixed media artist, Anya, aka Carol Crafts. that we are filming with. That's one of them. We're also doing one on a DJ collective called Level 3. They're really sick. They just had a show last week. And then Drew Joyner, who works in the fashion space mainly as a content creator and has a really, really cool YouTube channel. So we're trying to hit all different sectors of creative industry, and we're going to wrap it up into hopefully a cohesive season to where in May or June, depending on when I can finish the edits, we release them one at a time. So as a TV show would come out, so we're similar to how you guys are doing this podcast where you batch everything. We're trying to shoot all through January, all through February, all through March, probably bleeding into April, and be quiet about it until we hopefully make a splash, and we'll do a premiere and everything with it. And then
hell yeah,
the goal is to like stay silent and put a lot of effort into these stories. It's completely self-funded, completely independent, and then
good for you
pitch
guys, man.
brands to tag along for season 2.
Wow.
And I truly, it's been such a fun experience to do with Liam and Christian, and we're all learning so much. Liam being the interviewer, me directing it, and Christian producing everything and also shooting it with me, and like going really out of our way for these really cool people that have allowed us to tell our stories to make it the best we can possibly make it, with the idea in mind that we are competitive and we want it to do really well. And I want to see everyone succeed so that when season 2 comes, like everyone can get paid and everyone can flourish in a way that, you know, they want to.
It's taking that same proof of concept from the Converse ad that you ran a couple of years ago,
Totally.
but just at a different level and showing that you guys are capable to pull something off.
Exactly.
Super exciting.
I'm excited for it. I'm also dreading all the editing, but I truly I've never believed in it more than I have now. So.
Well, yeah, I have zero doubt you guys are going to make it happen. You also got some hoodies and stuff coming out on the lifestyle brand side. Anything else you're working on there?
Hopefully we have a candle soon. I remember when I first met you, we talked about it. We have the scent picked out and everything made. It's just a matter of Jake and I, because Jake is a fragrance consultant, so he's helping me actually make everything.
I say you smell pretty damn good, man.
But the idea was to make the studio. When we walked in, we had that smell, and we were like, let's make a candle that fills the space and makes sense for the space. And it can be a candle, and it can also be a reminder in your space to create more. So there's definitely a lot of things that I should probably close my mouth on just because I don't want them to not come true.
Yeah, totally.
But like, it's so many moving parts and so many things that I find on a daily basis that I'm not doing. But having conversations like this has really allowed me to know that we're in the thick of it. And this is, if your plate's full, your life is full.
Absolutely.
And that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. The last question we leave with guests is one that we're still workshopping a little bit, but as of now, is there a question that you would leave the audience or listeners that you've answered yourself or hope to answer at some point in your life that has helped you along in your journey as a creative?
That's a good question. Let me think on that. I would say something along the lines of something that I'm always asking myself is this worth it? Is what I'm doing worth it? Is the time spent on this video worth it? Is the dinner I got with a homie worth it? The coffee catch-ups? I'm always asking myself, is it worth it? And it always comes back to people. People always make it worth it. It's never the things you see on the internet or the views or the likes or whatever it is. Maybe you get a cool brand partnership. The moments that I've felt like it's really worth it are when I share them with people in person. Whether it's with Liam and Christian and we're shooting till 4 in the morning at a DJ show, or just really long conversations I've had with my brother. I think if we strip everything away and you and I don't have jobs and we're not doing any of this creative stuff and we're not doing the podcast, when we get back to like real human stuff, like the way that I answer that question is with the people that I'm around. And they definitely make it worth it.
That's powerful, man. I love it. Where can people keep up to date with what you got going on?
Just on socials at Sam Snowden, and for Create More Studios, it's just at Create More Studios, and trying to get the at Create More handle, but for now it's at Create More Studios. And yeah, I'm trying to think of anything else. Also, you guys should follow Minted and Montes as well. But yeah,
Cooking. Well, dude, thank you for taking the time today. It's, as I mentioned, man, you're like an inspiring guy, and I know you're changing a lot of lives around the world. So this conversation lit me fuck up. I'm like feeling great, ready to go.
Thank you.
Through a brick
I
wall.
appreciate you having me on, and we talked about this earlier, but I really appreciate all the research and time spent. It's always so humbling when I have people that go back into my life, and you know, because I know it, and I'm like such an over romanticizer. Like I make videos about myself, you know, like how much worse can I get? And so like when, you know, you do deep research and you have this all set up, it's really special. And I hope that people see the value of not only this, but from all the other guests.
Yeah. We'll create more, man. Best of luck.